When COVID-19 crackdowns began, we noted that they'd conflict with religious services to such an extent that the Last Supper would have been forbidden. Well, now the city of Chicago is indicating that the supper wouldn't just be banned, the place of the gathering could be closed and possibly demolished. As the city health commissioner warns pastors they'd better comply to the government's orders and not answer just to God. Hi, everyone. I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. Yep. The false god of government is speaking loudly in the Windbag City.
Well, today marks the second weekend in a row select churches around the state opened their doors, defying state and city of Chicago orders. At least 2 of them have already been cited by the city.
Area pastors say they've now received this letter from the city's health department, threatening summary abatement if they continue to hold services at capacities greater than 10 people.
The Chicago Sun-Times reports that houses of worship defying city government shutdown orders will be shut and could be demolished. Dr. Allison Arwady, the commissioner of the Chicago Department of Public Health, CDPH, sent letters Saturday to Metro Praise International Church of Belmont Cragen, Elim Romanian Pentecostal Church in Albany Park, and Philadelphia Romanian Church in Ravenswood, warning that future violations could result in a church being declared a public health nuisance and potentially closed. And there's more. As I previously provided, the governor's executive order has the force of law and is enforceable by law enforcement agencies in Chicago and throughout the state, which presents its own political philosophical problems since, as I've noted to many students, under the founders' presuppositions, the executive branches of government were supposed to, execute statutes, not act as dictators. The Constitution sets the standard by prohibiting Congress from ceding its statutory power to any other body. But of course, few people bother reading the separation of powers anymore, least of all state and federal legislators who continually allow and encourage the executive branch to issue edicts along their ever-expanding network of bureaucracies. But let's continue with Herr Doctor. CDPH has the authority, pursuant to the Department of Public Health Act, the Civil Administrative Code of Illinois, and the Control of Communicable Diseases Code to order that a location be closed and made off limits to the public to prevent the probable spread of a dangerously contagious or infectious disease until such time as the condition can be corrected or the danger to the public health eliminated or reduced in such a manner that no substantial danger to the public's health any longer exists. Well, then that will never stop, will it? Sorry, that was just an aside. But this so-called public health police power is not only constitutionally non-existent, it's constitutionally prohibited and philosophically off base. To understand that, let's go back to the Declaration of Independence, which is right over there, in which Jefferson explained that, as John Locke had argued, governments are formed to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the latter meaning private property and market exchange of that property that fosters prosperity. So, at first blush, couldn't someone like Dr. Arwady argue that the government has a justified role in stopping the spread of a virus that could harm a life? Well, philosophically speaking, no. The philosophical rationale for the government was to stop intentional person-on-person aggression against the life, property, or freedom of contract of others. The founders viewed it as improper for the state to demand your tax cash in order to protect people from naturally occurring dangers. And doing so opens a Pandora's box to politically connected individuals and groups jockeying for position to claim that their natural disaster is the one that deserves government services. This is, of course, precisely how the United States government and state and local governments operate today. But it is a corruption of the original so-called rationale for government itself in the Western tradition. And even if it were part of the American philosophical tradition, it becomes unworkable and ruled by caprice when people try to engage it. After all, if the state has a police power to protect public health, as they argue, there's always a risk that a weak person could contract a natural pathogen from another human being. So it's not surprising to read this in Dr. Arwadi's letter itself. In addition, as the health commissioner, I have the power and duty to cause all nuisances affecting the health of the public to be abated with all reasonable promptness, and general police powers to correct by whatever means are necessary any health hazard that presents an immediate risk to the life or health of one or more citizens of the city of Chicago. Of course, the Constitution disagrees. The contract clause forbids her from infringing on the fulfillment of contracts, which would mean she can't order businesses closed. Of course, if people actually bothered to respect the contract clause, maybe somebody might remind her of that. And anyone who understands the Bill of Rights knows the phrase, by whatever means are necessary, is not only horrifying, it's blocked by the First, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, Eighth, and 14th Amendments. But the doctor doesn't appear to care in any way whatsoever. In fact, by issuing her letter, the doctor implies she could, if she desired, not only shut down the churches, but tear down the churches to protect the public health. Christian Ionescu, pastor of Elim Romanian, said he worries that the summary abatement threatened by Arwadi's letter could lead to his church being demolished without due process. And I think that is quite a justified fear. By whatever means necessary makes that fear very rational. The problem is that rights to life, property, and free will are not supposed to be servile to the prejudices of bureaucrats deciding whatever is necessary. And many of those bureaucrats and politicians don't understand that. Case in point, Chicago, Illinois. Hey, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this exploration into philosophy and the United States Constitution, drawing out some intellectual ammunition from a current story. And I do want to mention before we close, thank you so much for all the positive words. As you know, if you have been visiting MRC, you might know that Alan West was in a motorcycle accident. He's a senior fellow with the MRC, and he's okay. But we've been sending prayers to him and his family, and we appreciate all your positive, kind words as well. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Don't forget to visit MRCTV.org, and if you want some great MRC fashions and mugs and keychains, all sorts of items, head over to MRC-store. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.